Welcome back to part 7 of the silver cell anode filters refining and recovery. Let's get this area cleaned up. Alright, let's go ahead and transfer these pieces of silver into a larger beaker. This is all the cement silver that I rinsed off. I was going to run it back through the silver cell, but I don't think that's a good idea. I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to transfer it into this larger beaker. Now I'll add some distilled water to this silver. It's going to have a little platinum group metals in it. And then we're going to put some nitric acid in there with it. And we're going to dissolve as much of this metal as we can. Just leave it off the heat for right now. Add about a half liter of nitric acid. This reaction's calmed down a little bit. I'm going to add another dash of distilled water and another shot of nitric acid. And now we'll set this up on the heat over here and start adding a little bit of heat. There's our material down in the bottom of the beaker. See if we can get all this to dissolve. There's a little residue in this beaker. So what we'll do is add some distilled water to this. And then I'll add a little bit of nitric acid. Try to dissolve out the residue out of here. And then we'll add this, once this is clean, to our main beaker up here on the heat. Let's pour this nitric in real quick, very slowly. It's real hot down in there, so it'll react very fast. I gotta watch how I add this. Okay, now I'll get this beaker back. I've added multiple doses of nitric acid to this. It's been on boiling for several hours. Got about 20 milliliters of nitric in this container. I'm going to add this in. We're going to watch what kind of reaction we get. Still get a little bit of reaction, so that means we've probably still got a little bit of silver down in there. So we'll just let this cook for a little while longer. I've been adding nitric acid to this. It's been on boiling now for a good 6, maybe 8 hours or so. I'm gonna get under here and let's see if we can look and see what we've got. underneath. Just check it out here. See what's left on the bottom. There's a few solids, but not much. So I think what we'll do is we're going to pull this down off the heat now. I'm going to add some distilled water to this. Got to help cool it down a little bit. And now what we'll do is we're going to transfer it to this tall beaker right here and allow it to settle out. I don't have a whole lot of solids down there. Can't really see what that is, but it does not look like silver. You can see the silver forming on the inside of the beaker from the heat of the beaker. See the silver nitrate coming out of solution, forming crystals. That's a pretty neat sight. I'm going to rinse this all out. We're going to add this to the tall beaker. See if we can get this to settle out. Here's what's down in the bottom of this beaker. It's like miscellaneous stones and just junk. No precious metals, doesn't look like. I added some more water off camera. I allowed it to start settling about 8 p.m. on day 1. At 11:30 on day 2, after it had been settling for about 15 hours, I started the time-lapse camera and I added another 19-20 hours of settling. So this has been allowed to settle for almost 2 days, almost 36 hours. And just to give you an idea how long these processes take. Here's our solution. It's been allowed to settle for about 2 days. There's a level right here. And there's some solids that have accumulated on the bottom of the beaker. And I've got this blue liquid on top of it. And I'm not sure what that solid material is down there. So what we'll do, I'm going to use our vacuum bottle. Put a fine tip draw tube on this. Let's see if we can get a little bit more of this stuff. Let's move this out of the way. This is our clarified solution that was settled out. Now what I'll do is I'll transfer these solids, which they are very light, almost liquid, into this tall beaker. Now what we'll do is we'll cover this up, get it out of the way. What I'll have to do is let this settle, pull the silver liquid off, add more water, let it settle, pull the silver liquid off, and do that over and over until I get all the silver rinsed off of the solids. This could take days or even weeks to complete. Now what we'll do is filter this liquid that we just drew off of the solids. That didn't take too long to pull through this filter. Let's pull this down now. Have a look at it. There's what's left in our filter. I think I'm going to pull this out and put this in my paper storage. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a mistake or not. We're going to try to filter these solids. The reason I'm fearful of doing this is because I had a filtering situation a few videos ago where it plugged the filter up. It took forever to pull through the filter. So we're going to take a chance here with this liquid that contains our solids. We're going to try to pour it through this filter and gather our solids in the filter. Here we go. Let's see what's going to happen. Well, that's a bit of a relief. The liquid is pulling through our filter fairly quickly. So hopefully we'll be able to gather these solids in this filter and then rinse them off with some distilled water. This is moving along pretty good. Thankfully, that's our solids that I've collected in this filter. Our flask is getting a little bit full. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this funnel on a new flask. And get this out of the way. And now what we'll do is we'll start rinsing these black solids. This looks promising. I've rinsed it many times with some distilled water. Now I've got some hot distilled water. Rinsed it a couple times with this hot distilled water. This stuff is very mushy and soft. Gotta watch how I manipulate it here, because the paper goes to zero strength when it gets wet, especially if it's hot. Let's look at our material that's down in our filter. I think I've got all the blue liquid rinsed off of these solids. Just to make sure, I'm going to put them on another flask. And have a look at the color of the rinse water. I'm adding some more hot distilled water. The goal of this is to see if we've got all of the blue liquid rinsed off of those solids. It's kind of got a purple color. Purple is the color of gold. If you look down here, the rinse liquid is colorless, which is what we want to see. That ensures that we've got all the silver rinsed out of here. Let's go ahead and get our solids out of here. What we'll do is transfer these into a clean beaker. What we're going to do, add some hydrochloric acid. I'll add a couple shots of nitric acid, form aqua regia, and we'll see if we can get this stuff to dissolve. Put a lid on this, and we're gonna stick it up here on the heat. Add a little heat. I'm going to pull this off the heat and let it cool down. Let's reach down in here, get some on a filter paper, and do a stannous test. See what we got going on here. Definitely got precious metals in solution. Some ferrous sulfate. Put a few of these crystals in one of these spot plate cavities. Just a smidge of this. Drop it on this ferrous sulfate. If it turns brown, then that means we got gold in solution. Just like that. That's verification that we've got gold in solution. It's down to room temperature almost. I'm going to add a few pieces of ice. While I'm waiting for the solution to filter, what I'll do is put a piece of copper in this clean beaker, and now I'll add the solution that we filtered earlier. It should just contain silver, so we'll cement the silver out on this piece of copper and recover the silver. Here's the rest of the silver solution that I collected when I was filtering the solids out. Now we'll cover this up, and you can see the silver is coming out of solution on the copper in there. See that? Silver will cement out. Copper, being more reactive, will go into solution, while the silver that's in solution, being less reactive, will come out of solution. And once we get all this silver cemented out on that piece of copper, I'll rinse all the blue liquid off of it, melt it into shot, and run it through my silver cell. Let me move this copper reaction, silver reaction back here out of the way. Here I've got my gold solution. And what we'll do with this is pour it into a beaker. Alright, let's test this with some stannous. make sure I got gold in solution. You see by that test, we've got gold in our solution. I'm adding Stump Out by Bonide. Stump Out by Bonide is sodium metabisulfite. Here we go. We're going to add a spoon of this in now. Could take a while with such a small amount of gold in solution. Just let it sit here and watch what happens. Alright, there we go. It's starting to form down there. This is real time. This is not time lapsed or anything. Kind of neat. Things are jumping around in there a little bit. That one spoon should do it. There's probably less than a gram of gold in here. Let's go ahead and get another stannous test, just to make sure we've got all the gold dropped out of our solution. Got a little bit of something in there, probably some platinum group metals. Okay, let's put this up on some heat over here. See if we can boil it and get that gold to settle out for us. When the solution is dirty like this, the gold likes to stay suspended. What I mean by dirty is there's probably some platinum group metals in solution in there, and that causes the gold to not want to settle out too well, even if we boil it. Now we'll pull this down off the heat and let it cool down a little bit. I think what we'll do now is pour this waste solution off directly into my stock pot. Now let's do this. Let's do a stannous test first. Reach down in here and get some of this solution. A piece of filter paper. Not really a whole bunch in there. Be a trace of precious metals. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add this now into our stock pot. Any traces of metals in here will cement out on the copper down here in our stock pot. Gold down in our beaker. Looks like a small bead of it. Not bad. Now let's collect the gold in a filter. It's not very much. Here's the gold down in our filter. Isn't very much. Put it in this melt dish. Now let's take it over here to the melt table. See if we can melt this up a little bead or a button. Here's our tiny BBs of gold. It's not going to be pure. It's going to be contaminated with other metals. Looks like we got about 0.5 gram of gold from that recovery. What we'll do is we'll put that in with our next batch of carat scrap and refine it. This will conclude part 7 of the silver cell anode filters recovery. Thank you for watching.